Look at this. This meat has been hanging over a fire for 3 weeks straight. No refrigerator, no plastic wrap, and it'll stay edible for 6 months in one of the hottest, most humid places on Earth. The people who do this, they live so deep in the Indonesian rainforest that most of the world forgot they existed. I'm obsessed with this stuff. How humans survived before we had refrigerators, before we had grocery stores, before we could just throw things away. And what I found about the Sakuddei people, it honestly made me rethink everything I thought I knew about food. Stick around, because one of their techniques sounds so disgusting, so wrong, that when scientists first saw it, they were convinced it would kill someone. Spoiler, it doesn't. It's actually genius. Okay, so the Sakuddei, they live on Siberut Island, part of the Mentawai Islands off the coast of Sumatra. We're talking deep interior rainforest, no roads, no electricity, maybe a few hundred people total who still live the traditional way. And I need to be honest here. Information about them is limited. Most anthropological studies on the Mentawai focus on coastal groups. The Sakuddei specifically, they've deliberately stayed isolated, which means a lot of what we know comes from older ethnographic work and some regional studies on similar Mentawai preservation techniques. But what we do know is fascinating. They live in these communal longhouses called umas, basically extended families under one roof made entirely from jungle materials. And everything, and I mean everything, about their life revolves around the forest. They're animists. They believe the forest is alive, sacred, has a spirit. Which brings us to the food problem. Imagine this. You're living in 90% humidity, constant heat. You hunt a wild boar, which is a huge deal, requires spiritual rituals, takes days. You can't eat 60 kilos of meat in one sitting. Your family can't either. You have no freezer, no salt source nearby. And if you do nothing, that meat is rotting by tomorrow morning. What do you do? This is where it gets interesting, because the Sakuddei figured out something that modern food science is only now fully appreciating. You don't fight nature. You work with it. So, technique number 1, smoke. But not like backyard BBQ smoke. We're talking about a fire that never goes out. Inside the longhouse, there's this platform called a para, bamboo racks suspended about 2 to 3 meters above a constantly smoldering fire. The meat gets cut into strips, thin maximum surface area, and just hangs there. For weeks, sometimes months, the fire is always going, producing this cool, steady smoke. Temperature stays around 40 to 60 degrees Celsius. Not hot enough to cook, but hot enough to slowly, methodically dry everything out. 3 things happen at once. Moisture evaporates, bacteria need water. No water equals no bacteria. The smoke deposits these antimicrobial compounds, phenols, formaldehyde, organic acids, right onto the surface. Constant airflow keeps flies away. After about 3 weeks, the meat looks almost black, hard, like leather, and it'll last 6 months. When they want to eat it, they rehydrate it in soups. And apparently, according to the few outsiders who've tried it, the texture comes back almost completely. The wood matters too. They use specific hardwoods like Meranti. Different woods equals different smoke compounds equals different preservation quality. This isn't random trial and error. This is knowledge passed down for generations. All right, here's the one that sounds absolutely insane. Fermented fish. Fish spoils fast. In tropical heat, You've got hours before it's dangerous. So, what the Sakuddei do is, they pack fresh fish into bamboo tubes or wrap them in banana leaves, seal them up, and bury them in the ground. Then, they wait. For weeks. When anthropologists first documented this, they thought, this is going to poison everyone. Because in our minds, buried fish equals rotting fish, equals death. But that's not what happens. What happens is controlled fermentation. Naturally occurring lactic acid bacteria start multiplying. The environment becomes acidic. The pH drops, and suddenly, all those dangerous bacteria, Salmonella, botulinum, all the scary ones, can't survive. The Sakuddei don't have access to sea salt, so sometimes they use plant ashes that raise the pH and provide minerals. The exact plants. That's where the documentation gets fuzzy. And honestly, this is the kind of knowledge that's probably different family to family, elder to elder. The result smells intense, like really intense, but it's safe, it's protein-rich, and it lasts for months. Oh, and bonus, fermentation actually increases certain B vitamins and makes the protein easier to digest. They're not just preserving food, they're making it more nutritious. The skill here is knowing when it's ready. Too early, it's dangerous. Too late, it's inedible. That knowledge, you can't Google that. It's learned by watching elders, by smelling, by touching. It's generational. Let's talk carbs. The Sakuddei don't have rice. They have sago, this starchy pith from sago palms. Getting sago is hard work. You find a mature palm, like 15 to 20 years old, chop it down, split it open, pound the fibrous insides, then wash and filter until you have this white, wet starch. Problem: wet starch molds in like a day, maybe 2. Solution: partial drying. They spread it on woven mats, let air circulate but keep it out of direct rain. Brings the moisture down just enough to stop bacteria, but keeps it workable. Long-term storage. Pack it into cylindrical containers made from sago bark. Seal with banana leaves and tree resin. Stored in the darkest, coolest part of the Uma. Lasts for months. They also make sago cakes. Compress the starch into patties. Toast them quickly over fire to create a seal. Portable, energy-dense, perfect for hunting trips. Quick-fire round of other techniques because there's more. Wild tubers and roots. Some are toxic raw. The Sakuddei know exactly which plants need repeated soaking and boiling to leach out the poison. Then they sun-dry or smoke them until hard. Leaves as preservatives. Certain wild ginger leaves. Aromatic plants. They have essential oils that inhibit bacteria and fungus. Wrap meat or fish in multiple layers before smoking. Natural antimicrobial barrier. Wood ash. Mix it with water. Create an alkaline solution. Brief soak changes the surface pH of food, makes it hostile to spoilage organisms. Basically, homemade lye treatment. Wild honey and tree resin. Honey has low water activity and produces hydrogen peroxide naturally. It's antimicrobial. Tree resins seal containers, keep air and moisture out. All of this works because they're not trying to sterilize food. They're managing microbial ecosystems, encouraging good processes, inhibiting bad ones. Okay, real talk. Why should you care about any of this? Because we've forgotten how to do this stuff, and we're paying for it. The average household in developed countries wastes 30 to 40% of the food they buy. Most of it because we forgot how to preserve without a fridge. We've outsourced that knowledge to machines. Climate change is making food security uncertain. Energy costs are rising. And there's this growing interest in sustainable living, but without the actual skills to do it. The Sakuddei waste almost nothing. Every part of an animal gets used. Plants are harvested sustainably. Their preservation methods create zero waste. No plastic, no chemicals, no fossil fuels. I'm not saying abandon your refrigerator. I'm saying, what if we learned even a fraction of this? What if we could smoke, ferment, naturally preserve even 10% of our food? Less waste, lower carbon footprint, actual food security. Food scientists are studying traditional fermentation techniques now and finding them remarkably effective, sometimes better than industrial methods for nutrition and sustainability. So yeah, the Sakuddei and their food preservation techniques, not primitive, sophisticated, not outdated, urgently relevant. If this made you think differently about food, about waste, about what advanced really means, hit subscribe. I'm diving into more of this stuff. Traditional water harvesting, medicinal plants, skills humanity can't afford to lose. Drop a comment. Would you try any of these techniques? Have you ever fermented anything? Let's talk. Thanks for watching.